Okay, we're back with Rick Mauch from Burlington Record. He joined us today. This is kind of a thing that we're going to be doing going forward, at least bi-weekly, sometimes weekly if we need to, kind of in the news and in the news segment with Rick telling us what's going on the website, topics and stuff, so everyone can look for that. We're going to try and do it Thursday afternoon and then publish it Thursday night. So, Rick, take it away.
Well, there's always something in the news, and thank goodness, because that's how I make my living. But a lot of great things happening at the Record these days. I want to really tout our website. We've had a website for a long time, but as of late, we've really beefed it up. If you haven't checked it out, go to burlington-record.com. You will find the local news, as you always have, but we've taken a philosophy, Troy, of why come to us to get the Lady Cougars basketball score, for example, but then go somewhere else to find out what's happening with the state legislature? Why go somewhere else to find out who Biden just appointed to some cabinet position? Why go somewhere else to find out, something about the snowstorm or you name it? We're going to have that on there for you. We are posting tons of stories on a daily basis concerning local, regional, state, even national. Why go somewhere else to find out the latest news about the Rockies or the Broncos? Who they're going to draft, things like that. You can find it right there on the Burlington Record.
Yeah, I went on here and checked it out. It's looking really good.
Yeah, just because we are a local paper doesn't mean that our news has to be just local. Now, our local news is obviously our main news, but we kind of look at it. We took an approach with our website, kind of what I'd call a supermarket approach. Yeah, you can go to the supermarket and get a jar of peanut butter. You can also get that at a convenience store. Not knocking convenience stores. I've been in many of them in my life. But why would you go to the convenience store to get a jar of peanut butter, but then go somewhere else to get bread or milk or orange juice? Or we kind of combined the two. You can do all your shopping in our place.
So now, have you guys changed the actual website at all, or is it just more like you're trying to make sure the awareness, you're getting it out there?
We have changed it. In that we have great pictures on there. If you notice, every story has some kind of picture or some kind of logo.
Yeah.
And that's big because when I go on a website, the first thing I see is a photo. It jumps out at me. And if that photo is compelling, it's going to draw me into that story.
Right.
And so that's one of the things that we've worked to perfect. We try to keep fresh news at the top. For example, we already have today's early morning wrestling results.
Yep.
Even as we were sitting here, I got an email from the coach. And as soon as we leave here, I'm going to put what happened this afternoon on there. So,
well, yeah, and the reason I asked is because I've been on there before,
yeah.
and I've been on there recently because you guys have been doing a great job posting on Facebook. And so I'm looking on Facebook a bunch, but I'll get a link and come over here, and I without even spending time focusing on it, but then looking, it does look like it's been changed a little. It doesn't look, it's not following the same format as the post like it used to. It looks better. Way better. Well, and then I see those stories down at the bottom where you've got all of those. That's really nice. The most popular, like Kit Carson's receiving $1.38 million.
Yes, we've got that.
You've got some really good stories in here. Area wrestlers going to state titles in Pueblo. So
one of the reasons we're able to do that is we have 4 people who are posting throughout the day. Myself, Courtney Cisneros, who, by the way, she's the mastermind behind this.
She's doing all the social media.
I went. Yes, I do want to address Facebook in just a minute.
Okay,
that's a very
gotcha.
good point. Courtney is the one who, when I went to her with the idea, I said we've got to do something with our internet. It's no Not that it was a bad website before.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, if you don't have a strong internet, and we've talked about this before, if you don't have a strong internet presence today, you're going to fall behind. It doesn't mean we want to get rid of the paper product. In fact, I want to talk more about that in just a second as well. And the paper product is as strong as it ever was. This is something to go hand in hand with the paper product. We hope that you'll see these stories on here and realize this is not all through the Burlington Record. There's some great news on there, and it will be in the paper, the majority of it also. But there's going to be a lot more too. Some of the stories you see on here will have more to them.
But see, in my mind, that's perfect, okay? Because this is more people go to this, I'll go to it. And so I'm not navigating away to 7 News or whatever to see what's going on up there. And to be honest, I used to go to the Denver Post a lot until it kind of got gated and stuff. And so it's kind of nice that you have the best of both worlds right here.
And one of the fortunate things that we have compared to other community papers is we are owned by Media News Group, which also owns Prairie Mountain Media, which is what we're that's our branch.
Right.
So we have access to the Denver Post. We have access to the Boston Globe. We have access to West Coast newspapers. So we are able to get the news from these papers without someone at those publications saying, wait a minute, that's not yours. No, it is ours because we are the same company.
Right. They
are also welcome to take our stuff. And I know there are people who might say, well, what would they get from Burlington? You'd be surprised what goes on out here.
Right.
There's always something somewhere.
Yeah.
So that we're very fortunate in that respect, and we are taking advantage of it.
Good.
As our sister papers up in Estes Park and Fort Morgan. I've got to shout out to Mike Romero up at Estes Park, who he and I were talking shortly after I got here about the internet, and as time went on, I kept saying, Mike, I'm almost ready to do this. I want to wait till after the first of the year, but I'm almost ready to do this. And then, boom, Mike jumped in with both feet. He put myself and Courtney through training sessions. Lupita was a part of that as well, Sherry as well. And now I'm not going to say we're Estes Park because Mike has been doing it for years, and his website is out of this world. But we're going to get there.
Yeah, you guys are doing a good job.
I like what we're doing. I really like what we're doing. I had a guy call me from Michigan about a week and a half ago. And he had seen a story we had on there about marijuana. And actually, I think it was about THC, the amount of THC and regulating it and such. And I thought he owned a dispensary here because he started talking about it, and I said, do you own a dispensary in Colorado? Because you seem very knowledgeable, and you've mentioned dispensaries. He said, no, I live in Michigan. He said, I like weed.
And that's what he said.
And he said,
I saw your guys' paper. Thought I'd call.
Yeah, he said, and I was just navigating. He said, I'm working on a little project up here. He never did say what the project is,
right.
But he said, I'm working on a little project up here, and I was doing some searching on the internet.
You found it.
I saw your website, and I read this story, and he said,
hey, that's awesome. Yeah.
He said, I have bookmarked your website among ones that I'm going to check on a regular basis.
Well, and you have to start somewhere. Intention, right? You're making the intention to make it better, and so that it starts somewhere, and it's looking good.
We had a story recently, a little bit controversial story. It was about Catholic leadership. Not the state is working on victims being able to sue their attackers, I guess, for lack of a better word, indefinitely. I think you have to look and correct me if I'm wrong on some of this. You can find it on the website, but it was a little bit of a controversial story, but we went ahead and ran with it because controversy can be good. I don't expect readers to agree with every single thing that we have on there. If they did, it'd be a pretty boring website. But we got a call. Actually, I got an email from someone who said that while they were concerned about the story, they appreciated it. And they wanted to add something if the victims wanted to get some help or what have you. So, we're making an impact. And they were actually from another state as well. It escapes me which one. But the fact of the matter is, people are Googling certain things, and we're popping up.
Yeah,
with keywords.
It's good.
And
I saw on here it's in civil court. There's no timeline.
Right, and our philosophy again is to be a one-stop shop, and we're going to try to get a little bit of everything on there. We're not going to go out of our way to be controversial. We're not going to go out of our way to not be controversial. Simply, our philosophy is, if it's interesting, we think you'll read it. And a lot of things out there, I have found that a lot of things I read, I don't necessarily agree with. I enjoy the writing. I enjoy the fact that it might well be put together very well, but I don't have to agree with a story to read the whole thing.
Well, yeah, some of this is just knowledge. It's getting it out there. It's news.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and I love that it's in one spot. I mean, I know I've said that again, but
You're right. News is news. And
because this is a piece that's really cool. Like, I'm going to bookmark it now and be going on here too.
Yeah. And we have some things. We have commentaries on there, and in fact, we have a really funny commentary going on this weekend. It's a down home country take on the death of Julius Caesar.
Okay. Who's that by?
Oh, gosh, I knew you were going to ask me. I can't remember the author's name, but I stumbled across it online, and I said, you know what, this
is too good. I got to put it on.
I almost fell out of my seat reading this, so we got to post this. But it's really, really funny. I don't want to give the whole thing away, but just give you a little snippet of it. He says, and so they stabbed him right through his bathrobe, and then as he's falling to the floor, he sees his old partner Brutus and says, "Are you in on this too, Brutus?" But it came out in Roman, so it was like et tu buffet.
Oh, et tu buffet. Nice. Well, and then so I'm going to tell everyone again, it's Burlington the Burlington-record.com.
Yeah.
So, and then I think next week we should try and sit down. Like, we'll go ahead and sit down next Wednesday or Thursday, and we'll talk about what's coming up, what's in the news and stuff. We do our first segment.
Okay. This week in the paper, some highlights to look for. Of course, we've got the meat in or whatever, the barbecue.
Yeah.
The governor declared the meat out day. Well, all across the state, farmers and ranchers are declaring a meat in day, for lack of a better word.
Right.
That's what I'm calling it. And we won't get into the politics one way or the other, but let's just say we do have a story in there about how you can, I guess it could be free barbecue, but you probably should give them a donation. I mean, if you can feed your entire family for $1, I mean.
Well, yeah, and I mean, it's going to a good cause, and I think without going into the politics, we'll save that for a different podcast.
By the way, give them more than $1. Don't be a cheapskate.
No, and it's good to go down there and support your local economy, and that's, like I said, so that's good.
And we've got something coming up. Of course, that was big news, this week. Coming up next week, we should have a story in about some work that's going on at Old Town, which is really cool. Nikki, she does an amazing job over there, and also within that story, and we'll tell you more later. Sherry Webb and I worked on that together. I do want to clarify that is not coming out of tax dollars. So, just make that clear. And then we also have a little story on, talk to Nick over at the library and the Dr. Seuss books. They are fighting to protect one. They only have one of the 6 that has been, people are calling it banned. Actually, what happened is the Dr. Seuss Foundation said they're not going to publish them anymore.
Right.
We do have one of those here at the library, and they're fighting to keep it because, in a nutshell, Nick believes that if you don't want to read a book, don't read it. And that's my approach too.
Well, because it's one thing to stop, the publication. It's another thing to start removing it once it's already there, right? That's a different step in my mind.
That's called that's
censorship,
yeah,
isn't it?
It is. So. And I'm not going to sit here and say, everybody should run out and read Catcher in the Rye or well,
that's a good book.
Animal Farm or Catcher in the Rye is.
That's J.D. Salinger, right?
It is a good book. It's gotten a bad rap over the years, but it is.
I hadn't heard that. I'll have to. That's another podcast.
It is an amazing book. But if you don't want to read books, whatever the book might be, don't read it.
Yeah.
But I have no right to tell you not to read it. You don't want to watch a movie that has sexual content? I respect that. But, don't tell Justin not to watch it. I can't tell you not to watch it. Personally, I'm not a big fan of slasher movies.
Right.
I like horror movies.
Well, you're jumping ahead to our next podcast.
But
don't go into that yet.
But yeah, I have no right.
Which our next podcast you'll be seeing is we're going over the top movies of all time and genres.
I have no right to tell somebody, hey, don't watch Jason versus Freddy taking on the Fly in Jurassic Park.
That'd be a good movie, though. What are you talking about?
Watch that.
So,
no, I agree with you. I mean,
that's a story that we have going in next week. That's pretty interesting, and Nick does a great job at the library, by the way. But yeah, just give you an idea of some stuff we've got going in.
Good. Yeah, and then we'll sit down next week. I think it'll be good to do it before the big meet-in, and I'm sure there'll be other stories and sports stories that you can talk a little bit about just to give people a preview. And so if we do it Wednesday night, that worked perfect.
And if I'm calling it the wrong thing by calling it meet-in,
I think that's...
I apologize.
It's a great barbecue to support.
I just figured if the governor's calling it a meet-out,
meet-in,
yeah.
Works for,
Yeah.
Okay. Well, awesome. Well, thanks for coming down and joining us. And if you're listening to this, look out for our next podcast right after this, where we're going to be talking about movies, everything movie, top movies, best movies, bad movies, best actors, stuff you would watch on an island. So
why is Michael Bay still allowed to direct?
Hey, watch yourself. All right. Well, thanks, Rick. We'll see you next week.
Troy, always a pleasure.
All right.